Things might get weird.
Yeah.
Welcome to our life.
We could take out this first part if you want. Jess is trying to hit record on the computer. We're trying to do a video recording and see how this works. I really hope at least the audio works in this, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Hewlett House podcast, which we have officially
Renamed it.
Our show. What do we call this? So far, we've listened to it. So, whatever
and I
that
think
means.
that we're doing pretty good.
Meh.
Like as
We're learning as we go.
as the as the only one listening to it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, there's some improvements to be made. We're working on
No, for sure.
it. Sorry, I should have let you introduce us.
Sure.
Do you want to redo it? You want to introduce the Hewlett House podcast?
Do you think we could try this? Guys, we did a thing. We're learning this system.
We need to re-record that first before we use it as our intro. But we can still put it in the front of this before we put it live.
I just want to try it out.
All right, go ahead.
You ready? Look.
Is it the first two, or do you need to swipe over to the other things?
Oh, you're correct.
I don't know how to do that right now. Maybe so we don't. There you go.
I'm really good at
Go ahead.
technology.
1, 2, 3, the house!
I didn't do that timed very well. I got to try it again. But how cute are they?
Yeah, those are our kids. The Hewlett House.
Okay, just this.
The house!
Love it.
Aren't they cute?
Yeah, they sound cute to me anyway.
I know, but they're our kids, so I guess we're biased.
Yep.
You're welcome.
We love them, but we don't always like them. Just kidding, guys. If you're listening to this, we like you.
Even
though you make us angry sometimes.
we probably make them angry too.
Meh. Yeah, that's
To
fair.
be fair.
Yeah. So this is technically episode 5. You and Maddie recorded another episode, but
We
we're going to
did.
probably call this episode 4 for now, mainly because I just want to have Maddie think about if she wants to release that or not. Jess and Maddie did a really good podcast together, and it was very, I actually learned, I didn't realize where she was at exactly.
Yeah, I didn't either.
And our oldest, Maddie, our 14-year-old, is a sweetheart, like the best kid ever, honestly. I feel bad for other kids for what they have to try and live up to be her. She's
She's like the perfect first child, right? Like,
yeah.
I think that it's normal for the first child to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
That they just, I guess, yeah, in my
Maybe.
experience.
I don't know. I was the first kid, and I wasn't as
Yeah,
good as she is, so,
friggin' A, bruh.
you know.
Friggin' A.
But she is the young women's president at church. Is she the president of her junior high or 7th and 8th grade?
The junior high, which is 7th and 8th grade.
Okay.
Because she's at the charter school, so it's
7th
elementary
and 8th
to 6th. 7th and 8th is
Okay.
junior, and then 9th.
Yeah.
through
Gotcha.
12th.
Yeah, that makes
High
sense.
school.
And she's the president of her choir.
Her show choir president, yes.
Yeah. So she's the president in 3 things right now. She does really well in school.
Yeah.
Way better than I ever did.
Yep.
She's really smart. She has like the best work ethic ever.
Yeah, and she's doing like dual immersion Spanish.
She speaks
So
really good
she's-
Spanish, actually. Super
Yeah.
smart. She's gotten a little more sass lately, but I kind of dig it, to be honest. Hopefully
Yeah.
she'll wait to listen to this till she's older, but
I think she's just finally finding her voice. Like somebody asked me the other day, they're like, "Oh, like where she's at the age where she's going through puberty, is she getting more feisty, or like how is that working for her emotions or whatever?" And I'm like, I just think that she's like finally saying it's okay to like speak. Does that make sense?
yeah, and she's always had a way of like, she's always been super kind. She's like been so good personality wise. Like she just gets along with everybody.
Yeah.
And she's had troubles here and there with people, like everybody, I think, but she really does. She just wants to be kind. Like I feel like she really does want to be everybody's friend.
Yeah, she does.
And if kids are listening to this that know Maddie and she's not that way, let us know. But everything we see, what's nice is you hear other people compliment her.
Yeah.
And our other kids too.
Well, and even teachers.
All of them really, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
what teachers, parent teacher conference, right? Like You can learn a lot about your kids by going.
Yeah, so I've had teachers come up to me and on all of her presidency things, like so for junior high, she actually didn't like try out and be elected by the student body. It was actually a teacher asked her to do it.
Yeah.
A teacher asked her to be the show choir president, and then adults asked her to be the president over the young women's. I think it's because I had a teacher come up to me and tell me after one of her performances, so just like randomly he was there and we were there, he waited around because he wanted to tell me how great she was and how she uplifted everybody in the classroom. And he's like, normally, like, you know, when we have girls by their friends, he's like, it's a problem, but Maddie like motivates the people around her. And I think that's
she's
why.
got a good vibe.
Yeah, I think that's why, you know, even adults are drawn to her. She's, you know, people trust her because she uplifts where she stands, kind of a thing, you know?
Yeah, so. But I feel like, and there's for sure times when she's been too nice or whatever, and hasn't been sure. I think it's just part of growing up, right? How to like handle when people aren't nice or maybe when things get rough or something. But I really do feel like she's got enough Hewlett or dollar stubbornness in her that she'll hold her own. So she's gonna be fine. And I think
I agree. I think she'll be great. I think she's got a good enough balance where it's like she's not getting trampled on. And she's actually had some experiences in her callings here that we've had to talk through things, and so she's learned to stick up for herself a little bit more too.
Yeah.
So
keep that backbone, girl.
Boop, boop.
Our youngest Gwen is a firecracker. She's got a soft heart. Like if I look at her wrong, she just starts to cry. But she's feisty too, and I'm like, you know what? This day and age, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
You know?
The girls to have a little feist in them.
Yeah. You're a little feisty, but if you were like mean, I
am not
couldn't
feisty.
be married to a mean wife. I'm the mean one.
Whatever.
I try so hard not to be better. Yeah. Speaking of emotions and all that stuff, Jess got after me.
I need to just clarify something, and it's been bugging me since we recorded the first time. I think it was the first episode. Hayden made a comment about how he's kind of over everybody and their mental illness and not just bucking up, kind of. From what I can remember.
Yeah, that was the
gist,
said. I think. Yeah, that's fair.
So to me, it bugged me because we do understand that mental illness is like for real. It is really hard. It is like it's a thing. Like I had postpartum anxiety and depression. But so here's I think the clarifying thing, right? That
you want me to speak, or are you gonna? You're trying to clarify your point to show how you feel about it, so people don't just think you just agree with my. Correct.
Is that okay?
My comment, please. Yeah, that's great.
So to me, I'm like, yes, mental illness is real. Like I've felt it, as you know, myself. But also, to what I think that you were trying to explain is that it's kind of like what you focus on grows.
Yes.
Type of situation. So like you told me that I didn't realize with like some of my other kids that what I was feeling was anxiety or depression, right? And it wasn't until my last child that I could recognize that that's what it was. Because with Taft, my third,
I think you noticed it then. I feel like
I noticed it, but it wasn't until it was over. So I noticed the feeling that I was having, and I just thought that was having a third child, right? Yeah. I felt really tense all the time, like my body couldn't really relax. And so once it was over, I think he just turned 3 or something. All of a sudden I felt like this weight lift off of me, and I'm like, what in the world? What was I feeling that whole time? That is so weird. Like, I am like me again. How is this a thing? You know? So then with Gwen, it was like, it seemed like it was harder because I knew those feelings. And so I knew what to look for. And so it almost made it harder with her. Like that was the worst one. And maybe it was the worst one because it was child number 4 and I still had all these other older kids. Like Maddie's 11, so we're still running around an older child, but also having a baby. So there's probably some of that too, but it definitely was worse. The more I focused on it, the more I understood that was it.
Yeah.
And Andy didn't have any skills to help cope or do, you know what I mean, that you might get in therapy or whatever.
You didn't, you say?
I didn't have those skills because all I knew is what it was. I didn't know how to deal with it.
What do you think it was that made you snap out of it when Taft turned 3?
I think, I don't know, but I've been told that like your chemical, or that you can have this hormones still left in your body up to like 3 years after. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that would make sense that's why after having a baby,
yeah,
that you can still carry some of those hormones
for that long.
So I don't know if that's true or not. That's just something I heard, and it made sense to me because that was about the time frame when I finally was like, oh my gosh, I feel different.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And then you got pregnant like a year later with Gwen.
Yeah.
Super.
That's why I was like,
do you still do it postpartum with her, or have you felt better, or what's your?
I think I understand it more, but the difference between Taft and Gwen is we have gone through lots more in our personal lives than I did with Gwen, or had more challenges. I mean, like even just with COVID, right? Like Gwen was a baby through COVID. We've had lots of family, probably like we had your faith transition, changed jobs, had financial issues, had 5 family members diagnosed with cancer, had 5, right? I think it's 5.
So you're saying it was worse after Gwen? Sorry.
So it was worse after Gwen.
Oh yeah.
I was aware of it though, and so
And there was just a lot more stuff going on.
And there was a lot more stuff. So I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's hard to know.
I got you.
But
yeah.
I do feel like because I knew that that's what it was.
Yeah.
I did dwell on it a little more.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't think it was as easy to just brush under the rug that was what was going on.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
just to clarify, like, I don't know. I'm not politically correct, so my goal is not to offend people. I genuinely do love everyone. Like I don't have time to hate anybody. I don't have the energy to do it. I have been there before, and it is draining to me. Okay.
Yeah.
So I do know that the world probably in general, but like our country more specifically for sure has a mental health crisis. Okay. But I think it is like I don't know. I don't think I'm that tough. I have a lot of stuff I'm working on myself, but I've always just, I am a little bit old school and probably like, probably a little more conservative or whatever you want to call me. And there was just times in my life where I felt like I just was like, suck it up and freaking move on, dude. And I think that there needs to be probably more of that.
Yeah.
Today, instead of like thinking that like, because you have an issue, you have to go talk to a therapist. If you think you need to talk to a therapist, go talk to a therapist, and they'll probably tell you if you need to be there or not.
Yeah, for sure.
I've talked to a therapist. I've gone through it. I've worked with someone. It wasn't for very long, but it was helpful to me. I went as long as it was helpful, and then I stopped.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think therapy is good, and I don't want to. I asked you if we could talk about this before we jumped on. But like, I think COVID made it all worse, right? Like we're all trapped in our houses. People are dying,
we're all trapped in our
overdoses, trapped in our heads. Like the world's going to end, and the media doesn't help or whatever. So, but you had tried to get on one of these like online platforms. It was BetterHelp, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you had a hard time finding a therapist in the first place, like to even find somebody that had the schedule or time to even meet with you online.
Yeah.
And didn't they mention or something on their website or when you were on there that it was like that they had a shortage or something, that they were looking to hire more people or whatever?
Yeah. I can't remember, but you could tell that there were more people in need than
there were
there
therapists
were
available.
therapists available.
And that was after you tried to find someone locally, right? That was booked
Yeah.
out too far, and then you didn't want to meet with a guy. You wanted to meet with a woman.
Yeah.
And
Because it just felt kind of weird to like confide in a guy other than you about certain things, you know? And so I just.
it would be good for you.
Meh.
Let it all out.
It
Someone that can
would be
actually
good
help
to
you.
like let it out for sure.
Maybe you need a guy in your life that will just understand you.
No, it's just anyway. So
Good luck. Good luck.
excuse
I grew up
me,
with a bunch
I'm
of
not that messed
sisters.
up.
And I still can't figure you damn women out.
Maybe that's not a me problem. Maybe that's a you problem.
Nope. Nope. I'm just teasing. Anyway, so yeah. There, do you feel better now?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, like, we understand, we get that it's a mental illness, and I didn't want anybody to feel like the comment, I don't know.
If you
just gotta
you have something that's bugging you deep down inside, go work on it. Go
Figure it
fix it. As hard as it is, go do it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
But if it's something you can handle on your own, and you've handled similar things before, like that's actually, this is interesting because this is kind of our journey, right? The Hewlett house. Like this is throwing our crap on the internet for better or worse, and we're just kind of sharing our story to say, hey, we feel like we're kind of normal people, and our life is kind of crazy. Like in Utah, maybe it's pretty normal, but like outside of Utah, we probably sound freaking crazy to a lot of people, right?
for sure.
And anyway, like we have great friends and great family, and still have our quirks and all our crap, and we just continue to trudge along, and hopefully we can help people along the way, and people get golden nuggets out of this thing, and all that good stuff. But
Yeah. We're not professionals, so we will not say things that are politically correct, for sure. And we will try and, like you said before, we don't want to say anything that would be hurtful. If we do, it's not intentional.
yeah, we've said that a lot of times. I don't know, like
Yeah.
I'm a professional. Never mind.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, finding my way here.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Anyway, there's that.
Cool. So what did you want to talk about this time, babe?
Okay, so let's like dig in. I think that there are some people, we kind of asked to see if people thought this was a good idea or not for us to start this podcast. And
Most people didn't say anything, which is generally a vote for like, if it were me, I probably wouldn't.
better not.
But I don't know.
I
I'm kind
think
of
that a
open
lot of-
book, especially to people that I know. I'm the person that's like a little standoffish until we meet, and then
Yeah.
it's like I just vomit everything on you, and a
Yeah.
lot of people are looking at me like, "What is this guy all about?" And then usually we become friends.
And a lot of people don't understand you a little bit. Like, I think because you have like a very sarcastic attitude, and you'll like tease everybody equally.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes you come off
I tease too soon or something.
or and it's not even teasing them specifically, but like you'll make an offhanded comment just to be funny,
Yeah.
and people don't understand it sometimes because they don't understand you or they don't get you.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Like, actually, it took your mom a long time to understand me, right?
I think my parents in general, once we like lived with them,
Yeah.
and even maybe my siblings too, but once we like
They were like, "What in the
were
hell?"
around
I
more-
remember like we had been married, I thought, for a while,
Yeah.
and you came to me and you're like, "My mom, like, I think finally gets your sense of humor."
Yeah.
Like, didn't she make it? She like, he's pretty funny or something like that.
Yeah.
Was it that or no?
Yeah, that sounds right. I have the worst memory. I memory.
I remember
but
being
yeah.
like, "Wait, what?"
Seems
She's.
right.
Is that
Like,
why she
just
always looks at me
barely.
like, "Who is this guy? Like, what did my
Yeah.
daughter do?"
Well, because like we grew up in totally different families, like as far as personality like that goes, right? Too.
Yeah.
And so it's like my family would never, I don't know, we're like, we tiptoe around things. We don't want to like hurt feelings,
Yeah.
where you guys just kind of like poke fun and it's funny and it's just, you know what I mean? Like you're just there for a good time.
Yeah.
And so Tessa, I'm like, oh, but that's not how you guys mean it is to be, or how you mean it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, and kind of going back a few minutes, like I'm trying to find my way, almost cursed, right? Like this is really embarrassing, but I'll just leave it. I'm sure the light's still on, so I can try and bump it. Let's see.
Sorry, the video turned off, so I'm not sure that it's working right.
It's still going.
Weird.
Anyway, my mom, I don't think my mom knew this, but when I was like a little kid, when my parents were divorced, we lived in that, we lived in that Maple Village. It was some government housing or whatever, and I don't know. Swearing was kind of a common thing in our house. We all went to church. We all prayed. We all did family night. We went to church activities, and we swore and listened to rock music, and I don't know. It's kind of funny because we can sit and have like a spiritual discussion at our house, and people will be swearing during it and still feel good about what's happening, where other people would just be like, what in the world is going on? And I know it sounds crazy, but
That's how I roll.
sometimes they just sound like words, so they just happen. We need to be sensitive to others' ears, but I feel like...
I think you do a good job at that. I think you do good at censoring yourself when you want to.
Yeah, when I want to, that's true.
Yeah.
I can shut it off if I try really hard.
Hey, if you switch those, then you can have the cord on this side.
Is it all the same?
Well, you're just not hitting it.
Does it keep making noises?
No, it just looks like it's annoying you.
Yeah, it still feels good on my ears.
Okay.
Try it. Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm a little slow.
Pardon my friend. He's a little slow.
Yep.
Name that movie.
Dumb and Dumber.
Dang it.
All right. Well,
Good job.
so is that all you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Just kidding.
I'm tired. We can go home now.
So let's talk about so my point was when we did the poll online, I think a lot of the people that responded were people that were interested in like the last few years of our life, probably.
Yeah, and they're probably
we are.
people. Yeah, and I think some of them are people that have either had a similar journey as us, which I don't know. I don't think by now a lot of people would be surprised to hear that a lot of people have gone through this.
Yeah.
Like we have, you know what I mean? I don't think our story's that unique, I guess.
Yeah.
It's probably unique in its own way of how it happened and how it all went down and how it was as smooth as it was for us, even though it was really rocky, but it's definitely been harder for other people, and it's probably been easier for other people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I think there were just people that probably wondered and were like, yeah, I'm curious to know like what the heck even happened.
Yeah. Like
You know.
what does this look like where you were and where you are now? So
Yeah.
Yep. So we're going to dive into get to the meat and potatoes of why some of you may even be here. And that is
And this is only going to be a part of this podcast. I don't want to my goal is to build bridges here, and we'll get into it. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about, but I don't want to go through all the issues that I have individually with the church and why I have those issues. And frankly, it's been a little while since I've studied them because I just haven't cared as much anymore. And it was kind of a hard time in my life. And when I say kind of, it was probably like top 4 or 5 hardest experiences I've ever been through, frankly.
Yeah.
And so it's not something I feel like going back and reliving, but if I feel drawn to go back to it and study and figure stuff out, I'm open to that too.
Yeah. So we're talking about, let's get back to what we're talking about today. We're talking about your faith crisis or faith transition.
And I understand. But I'm just saying I don't want to talk about this every episode.
I know.
Like this is just a part of our journey, and it's because faith is just a part of our lives. Even still, it's going to come up. And we can still talk about it and look at different angles and bring other people in. But that's just like, we just want to talk about life and growth and hardships and things we've learned, right? So
Triumph and overcoming.
Yeah.
Yep.
And sometimes getting our asses kicked and lessons we learned from that, right? So
For sure.
anyway, so how do you want to start this?
Okay, so I think that we should probably talk about how what our faith looked like pre before going through all of this, what things looked like before. So like our faith and our relationship.
I think it can be summed up that like we were, especially after my mission, like extremely hardcore. You reminded me, I think I vaguely remember it now, but I had totally forgotten this, that you turned down giving a talk in the singles ward.
Yes. So what happened is they came up to me and they asked me in the singles ward if I would speak in church. And public speaking was not, I don't like that. But I told him, I said, I actually would feel a little more comfortable like singing in church because I feel like I can portray a message better through somebody else's words. I don't think that I'm super good with words. So I was like, can I sing instead? And I asked him, and
which is crazy to me, by the way. None of this makes sense to me at all. I would rather fart in a microphone than have to sing in front of people. I'm serious.
Yeah, but to me, like I said, it was one of those things where I'm like, I would rather choose a song that like shares a message that I want to share from somebody else's words, because I don't feel like I lacked confidence in the words that I said and the,
And
sharing.
you sing beautifully, and the lyrics are pretty, and they mean something to you, and is that why?
And I can sing them with the emotion of, music to me is beautiful because of the emotion that it and the message that it shares, right?
Yeah.
And so when I can portray that is better to me. I feel like that comes across better and I portray that better than my own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did that, and I said,
you think
I told
that,
you. Yeah.
You're great with people and words, but I
thank
understand.
you.
Yeah. I get it. Sort of. Yeah.
Thanks. So I told him, I asked if I could sing instead of speak. And I told you that I had done that. This was when we were engaged, probably.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, Jess, you never turn down speaking in church. Like you can't do that. And I was like, oh, I can't? Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, that sounds like me.
Yeah. So, and it was just after your mission too. So sometimes
Sure.
it's just after the mission, certain things are.
You're all in.
Yeah. A little more intense than others.
Yeah.
So, anyway, yeah, that's kind of where we were at, is that it was like, this is the one way, we do what we're asked. We
never turn down a calling.
Don't turn down a calling, which we never did.
You say yes to everything. You do as much as you possibly can. You sacrifice as much. This is going to sound snotty, but I feel like for me, at least, this was true, that you turn down everything that, you accept everything, even if it like affects your family. Like the sacrifice is a blessing to you and your family. So just do it. Even if it takes time away from your family.
Yeah.
Maybe not work as much, right? Like work was the one thing that I was like, there was 1 or 2 times that I got asked to call in and said, listen, I could try and do that, but I travel a lot right now for work, and I'm not going to be here most of the time.
Yeah, you physically weren't going to be there to do it.
But anything they asked, like essentially, I don't remember ever really turning down a calling ever once.
And I don't think so either. But we just kind of chalked it up to like, this is us serving God and His church, and so that's why it was important to us to try and do as much as we could to say yes. Right?
Yeah. Yep. You even went today and cleaned the church with the kids. I wasn't home, but I don't know that I would have gone anyway, but I think that's cool that you did that.
Yeah.
At least teach our kids to work and serve. That's good.
Yeah, I figured like once in 5 years is probably.
You've been more recent than
that. Yeah. Well, who knows? Who's really counting? I don't know. So, anyway.
He has a clipboard and he knows. So.
Oh, checking them boxes.
Yep.
Okay, so
we were hardcore.
Yeah. We went
we weren't
every
perfect.
Sunday.
I dealt with a lot of guilt all the time with different crap.
Yeah.
And that was something that actually
not enough.
Yeah, and that's not why I studied anything, by the way.
No,
I think that was a bonus.
Well,
for
that
getting
was
out
just a thing.
Like all the obsessive compulsiveness about being worthy for callings or worthy to do anything, like that's just been like a relief for me. Like I've been able to kind of process a bunch of stuff. Yeah. I still feel guilty about crap that I do that I shouldn't be doing. Like we all have a conscience, I think, right?
Yeah.
Most of us, but I just don't like sit in the guilt like I used to, which is really quite nice.
Well, let's talk about so your calling, your big calling that you had prior to this was.
So, right, you mean when I started studying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was Elders Quorum president. They called me in, said it would be a 2-year calling. And I said, okay, cool, I'll do it. I got in, I was the Elders Quorum president of our ward. Cool ward, great people. Awesome. It was probably my favorite ward we were ever in.
Oh, the people are amazing.
Where we live
Still
now,
love
it was before they split our ward, and now we're with other people that are super awesome too.
But we just jived with it.
Yeah, it was a little
people.
bigger.
It was, and it
like.
and it was just, I don't know. We just felt like they were our people. I don't know. How do I explain it?
I don't know how to.
Really jived. And maybe it was because you were in the Elders Quorum presidency and I was in Young Women's, so we like knew a lot of people.
Yeah, maybe.
I was in the Young Women's presidency.
Yeah.
So we got to know a lot of people, so we really like felt friendship there.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that was probably a lot to do with it.
And I really do think there were more people in that ward. Like they did
Numbers
that
wise?
whole stake split, and I feel like the ward we're in now was kind of like the redheaded
Smaller?
stepchild of the stake. Just a little bit. Like it's a little smaller ward. They kind of I don't know.
Oh, like it's makeshift. Not
yeah, a little bit
like
makeshift
the people
ward.
are like.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. There's a lot of kids and everything too. You're right. It probably has to do a lot with callings, how much you interact with people, and all that stuff too. Like that's for sure on me, I'm sure. And a lot of that, like I was kind of going through this transition in the beginning of that, so that's probably why I feel that way.
Yeah,
that really is me. Like it's not. I know several people in there that are amazing people. I don't know everybody, but maybe that's why it hasn't felt like it jives so much. I'm sure.
Yeah. But so anyway, so you got called as Elders Quorum president.
Yep, and about I think halfway through, because I was doing real estate for a year when I switched careers, right?
What? Real estate was the last.
I'm sorry. I was Elders Quorum president for 2 years, and halfway through that, I switched careers. Right?
Oh, okay.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So let's talk about the scrupulosity first.
Oh, you want to talk about that? I just did. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you didn't name it. So, kind of.
Yeah, you're right.
So, okay. So let's go back to this. So, prior to all of your stuff, you talked about how you have OCD.
Yeah.
You were trying to work through that, trying to figure out why you never felt like enough. And it got really bad. Your OCD, your spiritual OCD, which is called scrupulosity.
Yep.
Got really bad when you were called as Elders Quorum president.
Yeah, it got especially bad. I didn't feel worthy. I'm like, why are they calling me? I'm younger than a lot of these people. Like, this is weird. I remember people telling me congratulations on my calling, and I'm like, what? Like, I genuinely was like, what in the hell? Like, I'm the last person that should be. I'm like, I freaking swear, I don't drink. I was like, I don't know. I was a good enough Mormon guy that we were participating in everything, temple stuff, all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I remember immediately like not feeling worthy. Like, what the crap?
Yeah.
And even when I went on my mission, like I talked to my bishop and confessed and confessed and confessed and confessed and confessed and just got it all out, probably way over the top because I just didn't want to get in the mission field and have guilt creep up on me.
Right.
And then even in my mission, talking to my mission president about dumb things and just kind of over the top, like perfection, right?
Yeah.
And it's a love-hate thing for me with the church. Like, I love that the church, like, our end goal, like, should be to be the best that we can be.
Yeah, yeah.
We're never going to be perfect, right? We all know that. But, like, can perfection be the goal? Maybe for some of us, or can just be being the best we can be and reviewing our lives and seeing, okay, I've screwed up here, here, and here. Do a little better tomorrow. Do a little better tomorrow, right? Keep getting better and better.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I got called to be Elders Quorum president, it was like all this stuff creeped up that in my life that I had already taken care of, or that wasn't that big a deal, or whatever.
Or you would have intrusive thoughts. I remember you having intrusive thoughts of like, oh, did I think that? Should I be thinking that? Should I, you know what I mean? Like just things that you...
Overthinking everything
yes.
to the millionth power.
Yep.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if that's when I actually went and got therapy for like a month, because there was like no, it was?
It was.
Yeah, because it seems about that same time that I just went and talked to a lady and a therapist in like Provo. And she actually had another client that was dealing with some of the same stuff as me, so it was kind of nice.
Yeah.
And I went and saw her for like 4 weeks, and honestly, like went and saw her once a week, and she gave me some like mindfulness tactics and things to work on. Needed. Yeah, and I just, the older I get, the more I work on like meditation and prayer and journaling and all that stuff. Like that all really helps too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember like, what is this? And then I don't even think told me what scrupulosity even was.
No.
It was like later listening to a podcast that it came up, and I'm like, holy crap. And then I've heard other people talk about it. So I know, like, I don't know. That's one of my weird quirks, that I am OCD.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of a clean freak and a germ freak a little bit. I'll hug and kiss people and whatever. Kiss all your faces.
Don't catch you wearing your socks into the bathroom, though.
What?
Especially public bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I told him that, by the way. I told him that we talked about it on the podcast. He's like, you did? Like, you want to come on our podcast? He's like, yeah, I'll come on your podcast. I told him I didn't name him. That's funny. We talked about it on our podcast, about someone that walked in the bathroom in their socks, like, ugh, or the gym, people that don't wear their shoes.
Yeah, that's so weird to me.
Even in our house, like, I have house slippers, mostly because we have kids, and there's always crap on the kitchen floor, and I'm like, good night. Like, I'm going to freaking... lose my mind. I've showered twice today.
Yeah.
Not because
normally you do 3 times a day, though.
No, twice a day. I do not shower 3 times a day.
No. You're right.
I go to the gym, twice. Shower, and then at night, usually I'll shower again.
If you don't go to the gym until later in the day, then it'd be 3 times. So, like, you'd shower, go do whatever you need to do.
No,
and then if you went to the gym.
If I went to the gym and it was later in the day, then I'd shower.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Twice. That would be twice.
Or if you like... Yeah.
I wouldn't shower before I go to the gym, though.
Yeah. No.
Twice. It's not 3 times.
Sorry.
I know I have OCD. Okay. I know how many times I'm showering a day.
I counted it.
Yeah. So anyway, I dealt with that. And I know, like, I don't know, in talking to people that I could see people thinking, like, he just didn't want to feel guilty anymore, so he started studying stuff. Let me tell you right now, that is the last thing. It might have been in the back of my mind, like, well, it might be nice not to have to worry about this crap anymore. If this isn't true, there could be some nice things about it.
Yeah.
But as I started studying, like, it's a freaking fascinating experience and crappy all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm going there.
I know.
So
can we come back there? Can we stay on track for just a minute?
I'm going to it, but unless you have something else you want me to say.
Yeah. So
why I started digging in?
No, we're gonna dig into. You're digging in just a minute. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So you're interviewing me, but I really think we need to get to you and how you managed to stay with me after all this stuff went down, because of how big of a deal this really has been in our lives.
Like the perfect angel. That's why.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that would agree with that.
No. Well, and we'll dig into that
you're
too.
You're a little bit of a pain in the ass, but for the most part, you're pretty amazing.
Fair enough. You're dark.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so I think it's important to like talk about kind of our relationship too before all of this. So like we talked kind of spiritually where we were. Pretty much all in. Right? No questions. We didn't really question. We're kind of told not to question, and to like mainly I think that like you brought up that it was kind of like it's not faithful to, I don't want to say not faithful to question, but like not faithful to like, do the doubt your doubts before.
Yes, before you doubt your faith.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a quote.
Correct. Yeah.
And I know some people are going to say, I wasn't told not to question. In some households, they weren't.
Yeah.
They studied stuff. They looked at all sides. Like, as I got into it, I'm like, I found there were a ton of people that were just as ignorant as I am.
Yeah.
Or was in all on everything. And there was stuff that I would study along the way, and I'm like, that doesn't really make sense, but we'll figure that out. Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Like, this is true. It makes me feel good. Like, I felt the Spirit. Like, God is watching over me. He's got me. The prophet's not going to lead us astray. He'll die before he leads us astray. All this stuff, right?
Yeah, and I never, like you said, I never like thought that it was like.
Sorry.
I never had a complex say to myself. Like I never, like, oh, I'm not supposed to question. I never felt weird about that. Does that make sense?
I did. I did. I was like, I'll never like anti-Mormon stuff to me was like, it was like, I don't know, a vampire with a cross.
Yeah.
Like it was the devil. Like, don't study it. It's just people trying to trick you. It's all lies, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right. That was what I was, what I remember as a
felt.
kid till I was an adult. Like just stick with what the church teaches because this is what's true. Everybody else just tries to twist it and it's not true. Whatever anybody else is saying that's not a member that's left the church, they're not going to have anything nice to say about it anyway, so don't listen to them.
Yeah, but I never felt like a complex that was a problem.
Yeah, but you never... Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So it was like being there and it was just like, yeah, we just like being, having faith and just following these things. Like this is a beautiful place to be, and we just have faith and we follow, and contradicting things are not faithful and following Christ or whatever.
And they don't make you feel good.
Yeah,
they don't, and so nobody wants to read them anyway because they're uncomfortable and all that
yeah.
stuff.
Oh yeah, because
right?
Yeah, it doesn't.
And if it's uncomfortable, it's probably not true. Is kind of how I would have probably looked at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my point is just that like I never felt like the church was trying to deceive me in any way of helping us that way.
Yeah.
It was just more of like, oh, they're helping us like try and stay faithful and happy and do what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, good point. Way to take us through that because that was important.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks for keeping
And
my
I still
ADHD intact here.
I still don't necessarily feel like there are any ill intentions to like, I don't know, like brainwashed or like whatever. I don't feel that way.
We for sure, 100%, even as a member, I would have told you, we're a little brainwashed.
Well, yeah, I guess because we're born in...
You're raised in it, and that's what it is.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean.
To a degree. I've even had members tell me that believe. They're like, yeah, we're kind of brainwashed. Like, it's just where you're raised in it, and this is what you're told to do, and this is what we do. And what's interesting is, like, I was the one that, like, followed it super close. And I know people do that, and they stay in it their whole lives, right? And believe it forever, and even become more hardcore as they go. And that probably would have been me had I not gone through this, right? And then you have other people, like, some of my favorite people that I know have never went on a mission. They are just like the coolest, most awesome, genuine, amazing people ever. Have fantastic families, live amazing lives, are totally awesome.
Yep.
So I have no problem not judging anybody for ever not going on a mission. My dad didn't go on a mission. He's one of my favorite people in the world.
Yeah.
I have cousins, friends, all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, and people. So but like some of those people, not all, but some of them just kind of like took the church for, I don't know, not as seriously as I took it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's maybe why they didn't go on a mission or just kind of maybe just never felt like it was true anyway, but it was good. So they kind of still go. They're probably semi-active, a lot of them, or they go to church still, but it's not like, it doesn't dictate like who they are, or I guess how they feel about spiritual things. Like they all believe in God, I think, but it's just like, I don't know. They're kind of indifferent about the church. Like there's a lot of good churches, Christ and God. I'm good with that. We pray, all that stuff. It's good for our family, so we go. But it doesn't like rule their life like it kind of did ours, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. They just didn't. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. So
and they seem to handle this like some of those people, by the way, are the ones that are like, they see me go through this and like, what the hell happened, man? Like, what's up? Why are you struggling so much? And, and then even people, so with me, they're kind of like confused. And then people that are so hardcore and so far in, they're just like, well, easy. Like, just be yourself still. Like, just don't try too hard to fit into a box, I guess, if that makes sense. But yeah.
The people that
are like halfway in, halfway out. They're just kind of live their lives. Like they might have a coffee or a beer, but still go to church type of people.
Like we would call like a Jack Mormon type thing. Whatever.
Yeah, kind of. But I think there's something good about that to a degree because it's kind of healthy.
It's almost like somebody that's like on the OCD line of the scrupulosity and somebody that has none of that in the least.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like just live your life, just be you. Like, and at the end of the day, honestly, they're great freaking people.
Oh, absolutely.
The ones that I have in my mind that I haven't really said yet. But yes, they're like such amazing people. Everybody freaking loves them. Yeah. And they just are like, and it's not that they're, I don't know, indecisive and live in a gray area in life. I think it's actually the opposite. I think they know who they are. They know their heart and they're confident in that. Like, where I don't know, I just grew up insecure because I grew up in a broken home, whatever. I don't know. There's some truth to that at least. Yeah. Got some mental health problems. What do you want? And dealt with it myself. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't that bad, but yeah.
So let's like kind of frame what our relationship looked like. So we talked about like what the church looked like to us before.
Yeah.
Now what does like our relationship look like before?
It was the one thing we had in common, we felt like. We mentioned before, yeah. Like, we don't like the same music. I'll listen to everything. Yeah. So we do have some stuff we like.
And I'll listen to most things unless it screams at me.
Yeah. I like music that screams and sings, not just screams the whole time.
Which is actually a change, because sometimes, like, before there were lots of just scream musics. But now it's you prefer more that there's actual singing and screaming. As well.
Yeah, this is kind of a trip. A band I've been into for a little while now is called Memphis Mayfire. Mm-hmm. They are a screamo band. They scream at the top of their lungs, and their messages are actually like about life and whatever. You can go read them. But then the lead singer, actually on his own, has done like Christmas albums. He's a Christian, and so
he's got a good voice.
Yeah, Maddie Mullins is his name, the lead singer of Memphis Mayfire. That's funny. Shout out to Maddie.
Hell, hey Maddie.
Yeah, it's Matty, not Madi, like our Maddie. But what's funny, I was in the car with Maddie one day, and I just cranked up this rock song, and I'm like, hey, listen to this, and I just cranked it on. She's like, oh boy, you know. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, now listen to this song, and I turn on Oh Holy Night, I think was the song.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm like, that's the same guy. The guy singing this song is the guy that sang the last song that was screaming at you. And she said, what, really? She's like, holy cow. We watched the whole
Talk about not judging a book by its cover.
Right?
Right?
You never know.
Goodness.
Anyway.
Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, so you like screamo. I like majority of music, but not scream.
This will tell you everything you need to know about me. I love the band Tool.
Oh, my gosh. You've asked me if I would go with you.
I am a Tool. Jess said she'd go to a Tool concert with me.
I would go.
They're like 60 years old at this time, 50, 60. They still jam away. Their concerts are awesome. The one I went to was.
Not sure, like, I would enjoy being with you.
It'd be an experience.
For sure it would be an experience.
It's pretty chill. We just stand in our seats and
chill if
rock our heads like Beavis
right
and Butthead. Yeah.
The quote-unquote right way. If you're there, what?
Come again?
What's happening? Okay, so we're different, and we would always kind of joke that like this only thing that we had in common was the church. But I was
like, in my house growing up. No, my parents are great people, but we watched like rated R movies. We watched
we didn't. I mean, there was probably
you guys didn't even watch football on Sunday until like some BYU players made it to the NFL and they slowly justified it, right?
Yeah,
you're like the brethren are playing on Sunday, so we can
supporting our brethren.
Yeah, yeah. Like football, like was always on Sunday at our house.
Yeah,
and then we didn't wear our Sunday clothes all day. We had family night every week. Like we were, I don't know. I guess did just enough to.
But yeah, so like our relationship, like we felt like we were good.
Yeah.
Like it was good, but we never went through anything like too terrible. So we just kind of were
live life.
good.
We were comfortable.
We
life
loved
was
each other.
chill and easy and good. And I mean, we had our stuff like everybody else, but it was,
nothing like breaking. Really. Yeah. We never had a point where it was like, this isn't going to work even.
Yeah.
You know? So even still today, I don't feel like we've had that, but
someday we can get into this, but like as I've been out and looked back on myself, like, and it's been a few years now that I've really focused on just being healthier, right? As I drink a Monster here.
Yeah.
But like, this is like, I'm still living a healthier life than I did
before
to a big degree, I think.
Yeah. I actually just thought that today.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to sound crazy to people, but in a lot of ways, I feel like my life from the inside out is like more in alignment with where I'm supposed to be and where I'm supposed to be going.
Well, I wonder if it's almost like you're healing yourself from the inside out because of your scrupulosity. I wonder if some. I
don't think that was the only issue, though. I think we're putting too much focus on. Honestly, like just putting too much focus on that. I mean, for sure that helps, right? But I think it's just that, like, what I'm getting at actually is that I don't think I realized that, like, until now, I felt like I was kind of living Groundhog Day a little bit.
Just going through the motions.
Yeah. Like I was freaking overweight, but I like had a calling in church, and that was like supposed to fulfill my life. And I think it did to a degree. There was a lot of good stuff from it, but it also took a lot from me that I didn't realize it at the time until like hindsight, you look back and you go, man, and I know that more now because when my 2 years were up as Elders Quorum president, I got into the stake presidency when one of my monthly interviews or whatever it was. And I just said, hey, I've got a really busy job now. I put in my 2 years. I need to be released.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they did. They were awesome. But where was I going with that though?
You're feeling like you're healing yourself.
Yeah. And like I had a job that was like an actually like pretty freaking good job.
Yeah.
And there were great people I worked with, and the culture for the most part was awesome. And like life was good, but it wasn't like fulfilling. And I don't know if it was because it wasn't challenging enough.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was easy.
In a way, yeah, it was. And I don't know, maybe that's part of the reason why I just kind of got squirrely at that job. I just felt like I had reached the top there from where I was going to go. And I was like, I'm not happy here. And so I went to another, it took a while, but I finally went to a different company, a startup there for 6 months, and then jumped into real estate. And we can get into that sometime, how that all ties in. But yeah. So yeah, we spent enough time on that then, probably.
Yeah. So we were good, but we never really were challenged either.
Yeah.
In our relationship.
And like the one thing that we always joked about that we had in common was the church, like because there was nothing else we really felt like we clinged on. In fact, right before we started this podcast, I'm like, why did you date me? Like, why did you like me? And I think that's why it took a while for your family and parents to like warm up to me, other than my long hair in high school when we like started hanging out, and then I looked like a total tool. You know, if Maddie brought home a kid that looked like me, I'd be like, get in his face probably and be like, what's up, man? What's your story? Tell me about your life. You know, your parents were always super nice to me, but I don't know, warm wouldn't be a word I would probably use in it, which was fine though. Even then, I think I understood it. I was like, you know what? Like, I get it. Like, this is their daughter. And now that I have daughters, like, it makes me violent. Like, to think about guys wanting to hang out with my daughter. Like, get the hell out of here. I just want to kill them
She
all.
has lots of guys that want to hang out with her, so you're going to have to work on that.
Yeah. As long as I look and I'm a little unstable, then hopefully they'll just stay far enough away. It'll be good.
Cool. Yeah. So we were good. Life was good. We were here.
Yep.
And yeah, and we really were like, well,
we had no reason to shake our life up.
Yeah. And like, to me, I was like, well, our thing is our like pulling thing together, or like the thing we have in common is the most important thing, right?
Yeah, we're going to be together forever. We have one goal. It's to be like God and Jesus and be together as a family
like,
forever.
If we only have one thing in common, at least it's this one thing. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
So then, then.
As I'm Elders Quorum president, you just lead me back where you want me to go here. You're doing a great job.
I'll just try and keep you
Thank you.
Focused.
Sometimes
you just like to tangent, and then it gets into another tangent, and then I'm like, wait, let's go back to the first one.
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
I'm trying.
Only one person can do this. There's a few actually that I've learned me good enough.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure there's a couple people that can do it better than me.
Yeah. So as Elders Quorum president, one of my counselors asked, he was just wanting to be released. He called me on the phone one day, and I was like, oh, really? And I kind of got the gist from him that he didn't get into the specifics, and I know now why. He didn't want to talk about everything. I even went over to his house and tried to talk to him to see if I could help him. And truthfully, he's 10 times smarter than I am. Super great guy. Still talk to him every once in a while to this day. And I think he was kind of going through it seemed like he was going through his own faith transition and own issues at home and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then I had 2 or 3 or 4 other like close friends that I really looked up to that were like kind of on their way out or kind of having issues. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's happening here, right?
Yeah.
And after I got into real estate, one of those buddies, I was out showing him and his wife homes one day, and we kind of got chatting, and I had learned that I've mentioned it already before, but I'd love to have him on the podcast. He gave me some of the best advice ever. And he and I now, even we agree on a ton of stuff, and we don't agree on a ton of stuff. But
we're all talking church wise. Right?
Church wise,
these are people that you're like
belief
what's
wise,
going
faith wise,
on
right? So
with
right
their
now,
faith. Why are they questioning? Why are they having struggles with?
Yeah, a lot of people
stuff?
go through this, and I understand why. And I by the way, it's fascinating to me to talk to different people and get their different views. Like I have my view and my beliefs still that I hold on to. A lot of people change, like politically. A lot of people change. They go from being super conservative to super liberal, or go from being Christian and God-fearing people, as they would call them at church, to being like agnostic or even atheist, or like anti-church, and just talk, just have nothing good to say about it, and are hurt or whatever.
Yeah, because when you change faith or when you change your beliefs, that changes so many things, especially in our religion. Because
especially in a religion,
Yeah, so because you said politically, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't believe in God, then there's like all these laundry lists of things under the political scope that you believe differently on too.
Sure.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
That a lot of things would change.
And everybody's experience is different, and their life experience is different, right? Like they've lived a different life than me and had different experiences, so they're going to look at life differently than I am. And it's just because I guess I'm just a curious person, and I like talking to people about, I don't know, things that I think matter.
Yeah.
It's cool to just hear their perspective and their story, and everybody's different. And so you have from like the hardcore believers, you even have people that study the church history stuff or study the things I read and stay in it. And then you have people that that maybe see it the way I do, or even a little further to the left, right? Like that are they kind of, I don't know, this probably isn't fair to say, but I'll say it anyway, like kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater, that they're just like, it's all BS. Like it's all bullcrap.
BS, everything's BS.
Yeah.
So you were asking, you met with.
So I was showing him homes, and I said, hey, I would love to go to lunch with you sometime and talk to you. I just have some questions I want to talk to you about. So we ended up meeting up for lunch. I sat down with him, and I remember, I don't remember everything we talked about, but I remember a couple of things that he said to me. The one thing that actually kind of shocked me, and it helped me understand that what we were going to talk about was actually like serious.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I almost was a little bit naive at that time, thinking like, what could it be? Like, what do you, like, I served a True You mission. I've read the Book of Mormon multiple times. I've read the New Testament. I've read a ton of our scriptures. Like, what did I miss?
Yeah.
And so as I started kind of asking questions, he's like, just out of respect, which I super appreciate, he was like, hey, at least that's how I felt it was.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I'll talk to you about whatever you want to talk about, but are you sure, like, are you good with this? Like,
gotta be for sure.
Yeah, are you good? And it was kind of like what you and me and Maddie were talking the other night. I'm like, if the church was true or not true, and you could find out, would you want to know? Not that you could either way, right? Because I don't know if you can. I think you have different perspectives in it, and you can make your argument either way still. That's probably the most frustrating thing about it, is you can get in and study it, and we all have our biases, we all have we're human, and we have these experiences in our lives that we're just not going to deny, and so we have one way to explain it, and that's what it is, right? Maybe. Making sense?
Yeah, I think that we all learn, we all know from our own experience, like you said, right? And so that's how we are who we are, what we believe, how we think. So that's why I like to call it a faith transition, instead of a crisis, because it's like, these are the things I've learned, in accordance to the experiences I've had. Yeah. And so to me, I'm like, I don't think, anyway.
I would call it both. I would say at first it was a crisis. Yes. It was a crisis of faith. Yeah. And then as you kind of go through the grief cycle, like we talked about, the sadness, the confusion, the sadness, the anger, like that, the whole cycle, I'm missing things. But anyway, that whole process of like, almost just like what happens when someone you love dies. Mm-hmm. That is like that. Identical to that, I felt all those emotions. Yeah. I was angry at one time. I couldn't shut up at one time. I was offending my family and friends because I was like, I had to talk it through because I felt like my head was going to freaking explode. I'm like, did you know this? And did you know this? And did you know this? And what happened? And why this? And why that? And it freaking caused a ton of contention, and I just wanted to be heard and understood and have someone I think I wanted someone to just explain it to me and have it be better, and it wouldn't.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, I really can't talk to anybody other than you. And that all stemmed from that lunch. So that friend also told me, he said, hey, just so you know, I started studying this stuff, and I'm just guessing, I'll have him on sometime if he'll come on and we can ask him, but I'm guessing he just kind of got into it and started studying and then realized, like, holy crap, like, my whole world is shifting, and I haven't really talked to my wife about this yet.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he just told me as some friendly advice, he said, talk to your wife, like, keep her in the loop, like, talk to her about this, let her know, because it was hard for us.
Yeah.
Like, him and his wife are still married, have a freaking awesome family. But it was rough. And so I remember calling you on the phone and being like, hey, like, it was the day I had the lunch with him. I said, hey, I'm going to start studying this. I feel drawn, like I'm supposed to study this. It keeps popping up in my life right now. And I think you told me that if I couldn't explain it any other way.
You told me two key things for me that helped me. It helped me in it. Sure. And the two things were, you said, as much as I knew I needed to go on a mission, that is what I'm feeling. That's the same feeling I'm having about needing to study this information. And we may have said this already, but just to recap. Yeah. Because we're getting in it again. And so I immediately thought, who am I to tell him what his spiritual journey looks like? If he's feeling drawn and he feels so drawn that much to, this is what I need to do for my spiritual journey, I don't touch that. You know, that's you. Yeah. And then the second thing you said to me is, in this, my goal is to become closer to Christ. And I said, ding, number 2. Okay.
I don't remember saying that, I'll be honest.
Well,
but I'm sure I was trying to be honest with you.
Well, and that's the thing. That's one major thing for you, is that you value honesty above anything. And so that can become good and bad. Yeah. I joke about being a bullshitter, but I'll be like, people that lie, like, that's like, you will attest to this, and our kids will attest to this. Yeah. If I am lied to, I will lose my freaking mind. It's by my kids, right? Yeah. And in work, and that's why, like, I'll exaggerate stuff and tell stories and stuff like that. But I feel like, for the most part, it's probably my OCD. Yeah. But I'm almost honest to, like, a fault. Yeah. Like, I open my mouth and say stuff, even if it comes from a good place. Sometimes I open my mouth and I think I offend people, because sometimes I just speak what I feel like they need to hear, and not necessarily, and not always. No, I try. You have a pretty good filter, in the sense that you're not trying to offend people. I never am. Yeah. I really am not. Like, we have banter and stuff with friends or family or whatever, but it's never, I really don't, I don't know. And it's not that I don't get angry and say stuff, but, like, for the most part, like, you're right. I value honesty above everything, and then loyalty's a close second, right? Yeah. So I really, really, really value that. And I think that's why I struggled with this as much as I did as I went through it, right? Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. So those are the two things that you told me. Yeah. And then, do we want to talk about what I said? My comment back? I just remember saying, too, like, listen, I think I'll be okay or something like that, but I don't know how this is going to go, honestly. Like, at least after that lunch, I was like, this sounds, like, serious. Like, I'm probably going to read some stuff that I'm not going to like, and that's okay. Like, just need you to know that. A little bit. But yeah, go ahead. What'd you say? Yeah, and so to me, it was just one of those things where, and, you know, this is just our experience. You know, your experience defines your journey, right? Yeah, whatever. Sure. Or your belief. So to me, I said, okay, that's fine. And I kind of had the feeling like, okay, that's fine, as long as, like, I think that we can get through this, whether you are in or out, whether this leads to you being in or out of the church. You said that to me? But to me, I felt like, okay, but we may need to reevaluate if it comes down to you believing in God and Christ. Yeah. Because because then it's almost like we have a different reason for living this life, you know? And so to me, at that time, I was like, okay, I think I can handle this, but I don't know if I can handle this.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so we just had that, and it was like blunt both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of, and this is all over the phone.
Yeah.
It may have been a bit, I don't know.
I was either on my way home or to an appointment. I remember driving on the freeway and talking to you. It might have been right after the lunch, like on my way back to the office.
Yeah,
or
I just
something.
remember it all being on the phone.
Yeah.
And just thinking, oh, okay, well, but those are my media, and I don't know that I would have said any. I don't know. I think that what was said needed to be said at the time.
Yeah, but I think the reason we bring this up too is because I think that was a really key piece in us, like, keeping our marriage together.
Yeah.
And then the communication that happened throughout, even though I talked about painful stuff and would just like blow up, like run my mouth and tell you about all the stuff I was studying and blow all the issues out and whatever, you just kind of took it in stride. I know it affected you, but you handled it like pretty well. And it was, I think you handled it the way I think I did when I first started studying it, like constantly trying to defend the church, and because it was being attacked in some of the stuff I was reading. I actually started reading church stuff, and then I go back and forth, right? Like I'd start with like the Saints book, and then I'd go read something that was someone that left, and then I kind of was back to, I actually really like Richard Bushman. I think he's great for the church. I think he's a super smart guy, and I think he has a really healthy way of looking at life and his faith. One reason I say that is because I heard him in an interview one time, and he made the comment that he had a son that was no longer going to church or whatever, and I don't know if he told him this or something. They were having a conversation, I think, about it, and he said, "You can leave the church, but you can never leave the family."
Yeah.
And I thought, that is cool. Like, that is a dad who just loves his son, wants him around, loves his family, and gets it that maybe life happens, and he just has faith that in his kid and God, or both, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the way that I've tried to approach anyone in any of their beliefs, I guess, is like, listen, like, your beliefs do define you to a degree, but what's interesting is, like, I don't know, you tell me,
they define you, but they don't, I mean, they guide you. I don't think that they define you.
That's fair. Yeah. And like that quote I told you this week, we tend to judge others. We tend to judge ourselves on our intentions and others on their actions.
Yeah.
And, but then we're also harder on ourselves a lot of times than others.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of this funny dynamic of life that's just crazy, but it's true, right? Like, it's easy, especially early on, that I used to be the guy that some of my family or friends are to me now. That's like, wow, he's really lost it, or she's really lost it. How can I help them? I even had a close friend recently tell me, like, they actually believe believe way more than I do now, when before it was probably a little bit different.
Yeah.
And they're like, they actually told me, like, yeah, I actually didn't feel like I could actually ever talk to you about life and issues I was going through, because you constantly just wanted to, like, save me and not listen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that. Like, I'm sorry, you know?
Yeah.
But now they can talk to me because I'm just a little more open-minded, I guess. I get that I don't know. I don't feel like I'm that much of a different person now than I was then. I just look at the world through a different lens, period.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you still have a lot of the same values and still a lot of the same beliefs, but just in a different way.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah, that's right.